The 95 Theses were the flashpoint that ignited the Reformation. Martin Luther had spent years pondering the concerns he had about the church. He pushed against some of his local leaders, he talked with other monks and scholars, and yet felt he was making no progress. In a sign of how the people of the time behaved, he then decided that the best course of action was to record some of his concerns and send them as a written letter to the church leaders. He also posted them on the main church door of the town, a common action at the time that was kind of like posting these on like the community bulletin board. And if this had been 100 years earlier, his story likely would have ended there. Yet because this is the time of the scientific revolution and the Renaissance and humanism, people were eager for change and desirous to challenge authority. And just a few years earlier, the printing press had become common in the area in which Luther lived. When his 95 Theses reached the local printer, he made copies of them. And when they became popular, other printers made even more copies. And soon his ideas were all across Europe, not just in the hands of a few church leaders who could ignore them. In fact, once they became widespread, it was impossible to ignore them. In this entry, you'll read a short World Book piece that summarizes what the 95 Theses were and why they were written, as well as a quick look at some of the results. Remember that World Book entries are meant to be objective overviews of the big ideas. Once you have that background knowledge, it will be easier for you to look at a few of the 95 Theses as an example. Read the document now. Next, annotate your document by doing the tasks on screen. You should underline a few statements. First, the sentence or two that best provides a definition of the 95 Theses. Then, the main concern Luther had that he wanted to express in those writings. Your dotted underlining is looking more at the big picture, how this relates to other events and the long-term effects. Pause the video now to attempt to mark that up. Here's how my markings looked. The blue line up with my underlines, and the red are my dotted underlines for that more long-term set of connections. Check your answers against mine and make some adjustments if you need. At the bottom of that text is a question that you very likely might encounter on the PSSAs. I like this question because it makes us think deeply about the big ideas, and it really measures if we can put together all of the key pieces in a passage. And so we're looking for the best objective summary of the text. And both of those words are key. Objective means that it's fact-based and not using emotions or opinions. A summary is looking for the overarching main ideas and the essential details you need to capture the whole purpose of the text. Read through your choices. They're a little bit longer, so take your time and decide which you think is the best answer. I would have selected letter B. Next, to make you think a little deeper, consider what makes the other answer choices wrong. Pause the video and come up with some justification. In your head, match each of these error descriptions to the wrong answer choice you think it goes with. Pause the video now. Letter A best goes with this issue number 3. Because it's only focusing on the indulgences and not enough on the actual 95 Theses and their impact, it's not representing the full passage. A lot of students make this mistake where they focus in on a detail that makes sense to them and ignore the rest. That's a problem. Letter C is not objective. It's including opinion words like heroic or brave. We don't want to be putting in our thinking. We're looking just at the facts. And then letter D includes inaccurate information. They're not trying to make him the new pope. All of those are common mistakes that we should avoid when we are crafting summaries. On the second page of your file, you will look at a translated set of the actual 95 theses. We pulled a few related items to give you examples of the types of concerns that Luther was expressing. Your job will then be to match those with summary descriptions that I have prepared. And so for each of these, you'll look at the letter at the bottom of your sheet. So, for example, giving to charity is better than buying indulgences. And then on this little list here on the left, you'll go through and decide which of these 95 theses best matches that summary. So essentially, which of my sort of modern translations would best fit his original ideas. For example, letter A, if I scan through this list, I think matches up with number 43. So you'll write that on your own sheet. Do the same for the rest of these.